Craig, what do you make of this plan? Do you think it's fair to ban anti-vaxxers from pubs and clubs?
Gabriella, if the vaccine is safe, is found to be safe, and let's face it, there's some questions about one of the two vaccines that we've signed up for here in Australia over the weekend, with some bad results in Norway and some deaths leading from vaccination. And if everyone has had the opportunity to be vaccinated, and the only people that aren't vaccinated are those that are taking an anti-vaxxer approach, then and then only would I consider it would be appropriate. Yes, in theory at that point, I don't have a drama with what the Premier has suggested overnight and on today's Daily Telegraph.
How do you see this impacting the industry? It's already been a tough time. Well, 2020 was a tough year with restrictions. Do you think this would impact the hospitality industry even further?
Look, we need, Gabriella, to work with the Premier, the Government, Department of Health, because clearly we'd need to know how this is policed. We'd need to know where responsibility, if we were fraudulently told someone had vaccinated and they hadn't, and there's a fine or a penalty, that lie with the person that hasn't been vaccinated, not the business. And finally, that if we do agree to this as an industry, all of the measures that have been put in place and changed in all sorts of fashions since the outbreak in March should clearly, if we can reach herd immunity and the rates of vaccination that we see against diseases like polio and whooping cough and these things, which for Australia sits in the mid-90s, then we'd need to work with government to say, look, if that's the case and we do adopt this approach hand in hand with you, can we now get back to easing all of these restrictions and going back to business and life as we knew it before the outbreak of COVID-19?
From a practical point of view, how would you see this being implemented at your venues?
Look, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, this has been announced as an initiative this morning. There's no detail sitting behind it. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Service New South Wales app is a key here. Some way Minister Dominello, I'm sure, will be thinking about how he uses that app if we have our vaccination and the health professionals that are administering it get online, upload that we are vaccinated. From the 1st of January in pubs and clubs, you have to log in with the Service New South Wales app at the front door, so everyone that's coming into the pubs and clubs already has the app on their phone. So I would think that would be a quite practical way for them to do it, for them then to be able to show us in our COVID safety marshal at the front door that Service New South Wales has a record of them receiving the vaccination, and we would allow them then to enter.
The Service New South Wales app and QR codes has certainly been a game changer for New South Wales in keeping many restaurants open. But back to this issue, do you believe that businesses should be forced to implement this ban, or do you think they should be able to decide for themselves?
Look, I don't have a drama with us, as I say, as long as the only people, when it gets to the point in time that everyone that wants to be vaccinated has had that opportunity, at that point in time, and I believe that's still a fair way down the track, I don't have a drama with the government mandating it. And to be practical, Gabriella, a business that said, I don't want to accept this, the overwhelming majority of customers are going to ask at the front door, do you have the policy? And if you don't, for safety reasons, I would imagine that they wouldn't go into a venue that isn't following this sort of policy, because they will want to know that they're surrounded by people that have had the vaccine and the environment that they're socialising in is as safe as it possibly can be.
That's a fair point. Some customers may feel that this could be a slippery slope, though, and if you're not letting patrons in who haven't had the vaccine, then it could lead to banning people not coming in on other issues. Could you see that point?
Oh, look, I see their point of view, but that said, this is a lethal pandemic. I mean, you're talking about a 1 in 100 year event. We haven't seen something like this since the Spanish flu. And, you know, that's a very unusual set of circumstances that government and the Department of Health find themselves faced with. And the handling of the virus so far, particularly in New South Wales, there are premiers in other states that have done nothing more than politicise and used it as a political weapon. New South Wales, we have to learn to live with this virus. That's become evidently clear. And if insisting that patrons and of businesses across the state are vaccinated is one string in the bow, I say so be it.
Craig Laundy, appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thanks, Gabriella.